So this young woman woke up to a sharp pain, opened her eyes and saw a cobra in her room. She immediately tied her arm to slow the venom, rushed herself to not one, but two hospitals in Nigeria's capital city, and at the end, none of it mattered. This is the heartbreaking story of how a preventable death exposed the shocking state of healthcare in Nigeria. On the morning of Saturday, January 31, 2026, Kingsley received a phone call from his sister, Ifunanya, at around 8:30 a.m. Ifunanya told him not to panic, but that she had just been bitten by a snake and was on her way to the hospital. Kingsley was in complete shock. He asked her how this could have happened. Ifunanya explained that she had been sleeping when she felt a sharp pain. When she opened her eyes, she saw a snake in her room. The young woman had the presence of mind to immediately tie something around her arm to slow down the circulation of the venom through her body. Realizing that this was not the time for lengthy questions, Kingsley cut the call and immediately called her back using another phone. He stayed on the line with his sister to make sure she was okay. With his other phone, he began calling people he knew in Abuja to alert them about what was happening. Because Ifunanya was heading to the hospital alone with the only makeshift tourniquet she had tied around her arm by herself. The first hospital Ifunanya went to was Divine Health Hospital, located on Trademore Road in Lube, Abuja. When she arrived at the facility and explained her situation, the hospital staff immediately told her that they did not have snake anti-venom and could not help her. Without wasting time, Ifunanya booked a ride right away to get to another hospital that might have the anti-venom she desperately needed. Throughout this entire ordeal, Kingsley stayed on the phone call with her, never hanging up. She was speaking fine, her hand was still tied, and she was in a ride headed to the Federal Medical Center in Jabi, Abuja. They arrived at the second hospital some minutes before 10 a.m. and Ifunanya was still speaking with Kingsley on the phone. When she got to the Federal Medical Center, she went into the emergency unit where medical staff started asking her questions about what had happened. Kingsley, who was still on the call, became frustrated by the questioning. He kept asking what they were doing and whether they had the snake anti-venom she desperately needed. Ifunanya told him that the doctors said they would give her a drip. The medical staff removed the makeshift tourniquet she had used to tie her hand to stop the venom from spreading. They told her to calm down, and Ifunanya immediately informed Kingsley that they had removed what she used to tie her hand. Kingsley thought that since she was now at the hospital, the doctor surely knew better than him. He encouraged her to calm down and trust the medical professionals. When the drip was inserted into her arm, Ifunanya reportedly started feeling dizzy and her speech began to deteriorate. Her tongue was not speaking well anymore. That was when Kingsley decided to let her rest and ended the call. By this time, his uncle, whom he had contacted earlier, had arrived at the hospital. Meanwhile, Sam, the music director of the choir where Ifunanya sang, had seen a post on her social media page asking if anyone was near the Federal Medical Center. He immediately called the person with her to ask what had happened, and they told him that Ifunanya had been bitten by a snake. He rushed to the hospital, where he found her in severe distress. The medical personnel at the hospital informed those present that they needed two types of anti-venom to properly treat Ifunanya, but the hospital only had one type available. They had already administered the one they had to her, and Sam was asked to go and buy the second anti-venom from a nearby pharmacy. Sam rushed out and drove about 10 minutes away to a nearby pharmacy to get the second anti-venom. He successfully purchased it and was driving back to the hospital when he received a devastating phone call. Ifunanya's friend, who had been with her at the hospital, called to tell him that Ifunanya had passed away. She died at exactly 12:20 p.m. in just about 4 hours from the time she was bitten around 8:30 a.m. to her death at 12:20 p.m. A young woman with her whole life ahead of her had died not because the snake bite was untreatable, but because the hospitals did not have the proper medication to save her. Ifunanya, also known as Nanyah or the Soprano Queen, was a 26-year-old rising star in Nigeria's music scene. She was a trained architect but had found her true calling in music. Ifunanya had gained prominence after appearing on The Voice Nigeria, a popular reality television singing competition, in 2021. She was an active member of the Amemoso Choir in Abuja and was beloved in the capital city's choral and creative community. She was also popular on social media platforms like TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, where she shared her musical performances. She had been planning to stage her first solo concert later in 2026, a dream that would never come to pass. After Ifunanya's death, snake handlers were called to her apartment to search for the snake that had bitten her. Videos that circulated on social media showed a snake handler removing a large black snake from her residence. People nearby could be heard screaming that it was a cobra. According to reports, 2 cobras were eventually discovered and removed from her home. One was found inside her apartment where she had been bitten, and another was found outside near the entrance to her house. Friends revealed that Ifunanya had previously complained about seeing a large snake in her home, a detail that made her death even more tragic. She had been aware of the danger, but probably never imagined it would cost her life. The incident sparked massive outrage across Nigeria, with citizens questioning how hospitals in the nation's capital could lack such basic life-saving medication as snake anti-venom. Many Nigerians blamed the Federal Medical Center for Ifunanya's death, accusing the hospital of negligence and inadequate emergency preparedness. In response to the public outcry, the Federal Medical Center in Jabi released an official statement defending their actions. The hospital denied that the anti-venom had been unavailable and insisted that claims about their inadequate response were unfounded and did not reflect reality. According to their statement, their medical staff had provided immediate and appropriate treatment, including resuscitation efforts, intravenous fluids, oxygen, and administration of polyvalent snake anti-venom. The hospital stated that a thorough but quick assessment showed Ifunanya had suffered severe complications from the snake bite and her condition suddenly deteriorated before she could be transferred to intensive care. They said their team had been unable to revive her and stood by the quality of care they provided. However, not everyone accepted the hospital's explanation. Some Nigerians, turning to superstition and spiritual explanations, claimed that the snake had been sent to kill Ephonaya by jealous people who envied her rising success. This type of spiritual interpretation is common in Nigerian society when tragic events of this nature occur, but medical professionals and health advocates pointed to a much more concrete explanation. A popular social media influencer known as Aproko Doctor clarified that Ephonaya died because the health sector in Nigeria had been neglected by politicians for far too long. Aproko Doctor explained that it was not the snake that killed Ifunanya because people get bitten by snakes everywhere in the world and they survive when proper treatment is available. The problem was that she went to 2 different hospitals in 2026 and both said they did not have anti-venom injections. He emphasized that Nigeria already has a locally developed anti-venom injection called Ekitab, specifically created for treating bites from Nigerian snakes. The question was why these injections were not available in the refrigerators of hospitals across the country. The answer, he said, was simple. Nigerian leaders had forgotten the basics of healthcare. This criticism of political priorities gained even more weight when popular social media commentator Very Dark Man called out the Ekiti state government over their proposed 2026 budget. In a viral video, Very Dark Man revealed shocking figures that demonstrated just how little Nigerian governments prioritize healthcare. According to his analysis, the Ekiti state proposed budget for 2026 stood at approximately 415.5 billion naira. Yet, out of this massive sum, only 68 million naira was allocated to primary healthcare services across the entire state. This amount was supposed to save a population estimated at over 2 million people, including elderly citizens, pregnant women, and children. Very Dark Man broke down the budget further, revealing that only 1.6 million naira was set aside for drugs, laboratory services, and other medical consumables. Meanwhile, lawmakers allegedly allocated ridiculously larger sums for their personal comfort. The budget included 618 million naira for honoraria and sitting allowances, 150 million naira for office furniture maintenance, 24 million naira for refreshments and meals, and over 100 million naira for office equipment purchases. He was angered that government officials spent more on food, furniture, and allowances than on hospitals and human lives. He pointed out that while public officials and their families seek medical treatment abroad or in expensive private hospitals, ordinary citizens, especially those in rural communities, are left at the mercy of poorly funded and ill-equipped primary health centers. Ifunanya's body was eventually transported from Abuja to her home state of Enugu, where her family made arrangements for her burial. Her father personally called for an ambulance to bring his daughter's body home. The painful thing is that Ifunanya did everything right. She woke up to find a snake in her room and immediately took action to slow the venom. She rushed herself to not 1 but 2 hospitals seeking help. She stayed conscious and coherent for hours, fighting for her life. But in the end, none of it mattered because the system that was supposed to save her had failed long before she ever needed it. Her death is not just a tragedy for her family and friends, it is a clear indictment of a healthcare system that has been systematically neglected by those in power. It is a resounding reminder that when governments prioritize personal luxuries over public health, when politicians focus on political campaigns over hospital supplies, innocent people pay with their lives. We Nigerians need to start holding these greedy politicians accountable, because at the end, it is our lives and those of our loved ones that are at stake. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and please like and share this video to spread awareness about the state of healthcare in Nigeria. Subscribe to our channel for more stories that matter. Stay safe.